Welcome to another Photo Mishmash. I'm Christina.
And I'm Toby.
And this is episode 26.
Summer fun.
That's right.
We're about to go do some summer fun with a pile of kids anxiously waiting downstairs. We're going to keep this brief, but we did want to bring you something. And I also realized that picked up a fair amount of followers, subscribers this week. And some might be saying, hey, what is this Photo Mishmash all about? And I think maybe we should add in at the beginning, for those people that aren't regular watchers, that this is your source for weekly photography news, bits of reviews,
Random
discussion, and we really hold true to that photo mishmash. It is just kind of a mishmash of all things photography. One of our favorite parts, though, is either putting questions out there or hearing questions from you all on podcasts and then responding to them, and a discussion, so to speak. So then somebody smart out there might be saying, well, why don't you do it live so we can all be interacting?
Because that's too much work.
I do want to do live soon, but to do it well, it's pricey. And honestly, right now, this podcast doesn't make us any money. Pennies. Not that that's necessarily the thing you have to base everything on, but when I'm trying to make this my career, I need to know where to be focusing my monies. But I do want to do that soon. Soon, not in a week or two, but soon. A week or two, we got a lot of family travels, family staying with us. So it's going to be on the shorter side for the next week or two.
Yeah, but we're back almost full-time again in August.
Yes. Why say almost?
Well, because I was thinking I was going to say full-time. So yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. Full-time in August, full
Yeah.
energies, serious discussion. Now that doesn't mean don't watch the ones coming up in the next couple of weeks. But know, if you're watching for the first time, this could be a little shorter. And just, I don't know. It's great. Welcome. So first we wanted to do?
Week in review. So very short week in review.
Yes. Well, my GH4 review did go up this week.
Yes.
So if you're interested in my thoughts, go watch that. But I want to hear your thoughts about it. And you can keep them brief because we did share some thoughts a week or two ago.
And I think my thoughts are still the same.
Share them.
Well, it's a great camera for video. I'm just really excited about using it for video. I've been thinking about renting it just to make some videos for fun, just because it was so easy to use. So I really like the controls, and it's great quality. The lenses are beautiful, and the image quality is really great. So.
Yep. Until you get to those higher ISOs. I don't spoil that. But something I didn't necessarily say in my review is I think cameras have different fun factors associated with them. Like, the 5D Mark III, and maybe it's because we're a little jaded, takes beautiful pictures. Mm-hmm. And good video, beautiful video as well. As you all can see, we're shooting with 5D Mark III. We're keeping this really simple. One camera, we're using that Sigma 50. Some of you are asking for a review of that. I'll be talking more about that soon, but it is wonderful. The new Sigma 50 art. Wonderful. But my point being, it's not a lot of fun to shoot video with. And some of the other cameras, I've had my hands on a fair number of these DSLR alternatives in the last couple of weeks.
You should say that the 5D Mark III is not that fun to shoot video with. Well,
that's what I said.
Right. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the Sigma.
Oh, sorry.
But they're different cameras.
They are different cameras, but
I think that for a professional.
Yeah.
For a professional who does video full time, the GH4 is great.
Yes.
But I think that the features that I'm talking about appeal to me as an amateur more than a professional trying to record,
I say throw out professional or amateur. It's a joy to use.
Okay.
That's what I want to say.
All right.
There's a fun factor that I found with using that camera for video that I have not found in any other cameras.
All right. Well.
Yeah. But I'll say this, and I said it in the review, but I want to repeat it. that 70D dual pixel autofocus is still the champ for nailing focus cleanly, zoop, boop, just like that. Whereas all these other cameras, including the GH4, you get that womp womp effect, where it goes, hey, I got focus here, let me check if it's better over there. Nope, come back here. And it does it fast, but okay,
All
that's
right.
good.
Well, the next video we kind of briefly want to touch on is the 5 reasons you should own a prime lens, which actually got picked up by a couple of photography websites out there.
Yep.
So
That was nice.
Yeah.
That gave it a little boost, and I think that's where some new subscribers have come from. So if you're watching this after you were introduced to me through that video, welcome. Thank you. It's a self-explanatory video. It's short, it's sweet. I do want to do more videos like that, including the Think Before You Click series, which I do have more coming. And I think there's a lot of great reasons to own a prime, and there was 5 of them. I added a 6th in the blog post I did about it because there was a lot of comments about this, and I had kind of thought about it, and then I said, well, I'll just keep it to 5. But the 6th one, oh shoot, what was the 6th one? Oh, it makes you a better photographer. It has the potential to make you a better photographer. Some people disagree with that, but
Right.
it really forces you to not be lazy. And I'm not talking about just having to move with your feet, but to think about your composition and think about where you want to be. It's so easy when you have a zoom lens on there. Say, oh, this doesn't look good, and you hit 18 or you hit 24 to get your scene in, and then
you end up including lots of really distracting elements that actually make the photo not as strong as it could be if you were to really think about what to include in your frame.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Good.
if you haven't watched that, go ahead and do that because it's a great one. Last thing about Week in Review is our podcast from last week, our interview
Yes.
with David McKay and Ali McKay.
Yep.
And they talked a little bit about the McKay Academy, and they are very, very passionate about the way that they run workshops. So definitely go and watch that video so you can learn more about them and also more about the workshops and upcoming workshops and how to find out about them.
Yep. I think it was NYC 0053 who commented, or I always feel bad when I might be misattributing a comment to somebody, but they said photography passion squared. They really enjoyed the interview, and I thought that was a nice way to sum it up because they are very, not only about their workshops, but just about photography in general.
Yeah.
You can hear it when talking to them. I wish the audio was a little better. I have plans for how to fix that in future Skype interviews, but it is certainly good enough.
And it's the content really that trumps everything. So.
Yeah. So give that a little bit of a listen or / watch if you haven't already. That is wonderful. And now we want to talk a little bit about news, or are we going to skip news completely?
We don't have any news.
We don't. I did want to say it's getting old. I know it's getting grumpy because you said no news. I said what news? And Christina's like, no news. Keep it short. Apple is discontinuing Aperture.
Oh, right.
And I think, was it, who runs Dead Pixel? Zach?
Zach Arias.
Zach Arias tweeted, wonderful photographer, really awesome guy, tweeted, not that I've met him personally, tweeted, well, you know, I guess that's like 3 people that will be disappointed. Or he's like, I really only know 3 people that use Aperture
Right,
now. And of course,
yeah.
a bunch of people tweeted at him, I use it.
Sure.
It makes me a little worried for Final Cut. Not that
What?
there's active development, but you know,
I just think that Lightroom just, I mean, would you say that Lightroom just kind of took the place of like the software, the photo editing software that most people use? Because it's fast, it's really functional, it's intuitive, it's just a great library, and Aperture just wasn't marketed as much.
it wasn't, and they let it go stale.
Yeah, the thing
And
is,
that's-
though, I feel like Lightroom being part of the Creative Suite, you know, it becomes so much more powerful because once it's tied into a Photoshop, you can do, you know, very basic, or not basic, but just essential photo editing just in Lightroom, and then seamlessly edit pictures a lot more. If you need to do more advanced retouching, you can just easily import it into Photoshop and then right back into Lightroom, and you know, you don't have to like like save the file, open it in Photoshop, save it again, re-import it to Lightroom, which is what used to happen. So I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're going down a strange path because you're really associating
you're
it with the fact that there's Photoshop there.
Yeah, I just feel like Lightroom kind of just took over, and so
Well, there's
Aperture,
active development, releases every year.
well, that's true.
You know, all of those things. Lightroom definitely was growing fast. I originally started with Aperture because it was much cheaper when I first got the Mac. I think it was only $80.
But you didn't do any retouching on it, hardly any at all. You just used it to organize your pictures and keyword and geotag.
Yep.
So
Yeah, but there are some people that claim that Apple's raw engine is a little bit better than Lightroom's. I think that may have been true at the beginning. Lightroom was fairly rough around the edges, and Aperture did have some nice workflow, but then again, they just let it go stale, and Lightroom has just gotten much better, and the capabilities much better. And of course, now with this $9.99 deal, I think it's a good way to go, which we had some people comment about. Yeah, okay, that's all of our news. There's other news, but we want to touch on some of the past discussions and your comments and questions. So we're just going to dive right into
questions.
Follow-ups.
Yeah.
We don't have a graphic for that.
So which one are we going to talk about first?
Well, let's walk backwards, starting with episode 24, titled We Got Wood, because of this background back here. And you had kind of a controversial statement in that episode.
Sure.
And you were like, go to the Grand Canyon, don't bother taking any pictures, people.
That is not what I said. I did not say it like that.
This would be great to go pull that little piece out and put it. No, you didn't say that. But you basically said you don't think it is worthwhile to take pictures at places like the Grand Canyon. And then later in the podcast, you said, we've got enough sunset pictures, people. You can stop.
All right. So, yes, I did say that. Well, I didn't say it quite like that. And I think what I meant, if it didn't come across the first time, but I think what I said was, unless you have a very unique perspective of it, then how many more pictures of the Grand Canyon does the world need? That's kind of what I said. Mm-hmm. So, and actually, I have changed my mind a little bit about the sunset pictures because, I mean, sunsets are just beautiful. And if you see a beautiful sunset, you still, no matter how many sunsets you've seen, it's still a beautiful thing to see. So I don't necessarily think that there are too many sunset photos. I mean, I think there are a lot of them.
There are a lot.
And I wouldn't particularly, I think the thing is that I wouldn't stop and take a photo of a sunset if I saw a really beautiful one, unless there was a particularly unique scene for me.
I think well, that's why I think a lot of people feel like it's a pretty sunset automatically equals amazing picture. And
right. And that's what I'm saying is just, it takes more than just a scene to make a great picture.
And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
Right.
But maybe be a little less likely to submit them for our critiques.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because we're seeing so much of the same thing over and over again. And it's great to see so much work submitted. And it's really brave of everybody to submit it for critique. Especially because we can be rough at times. And
you can be rough. You play bad cop, I play good cop.
Anyway. So... But there was one particularly good comment that was posted. So why don't you read that, and then I can address it.
There were a couple good comments, but this one from Torsoul seemed really good. I loved it. It seems to me Christina doesn't see photography as an art, but solely as a job or a skill. This would explain her aversion to sunset photos and photos of oft-photographed subjects. In her eyes, why would someone do the job, capital J-O-B, or emphasis on job, of photographing something when others have already done the job previously? One that views photography as an art attempts to do those subjects in a new way, but even doing it in a new way is secondary to the act of creating for the sake of one's art. Yeah.
So, I feel like that I have a lot of things to say about it, so I will try to keep it brief and concise as best I can.
Mm-hmm.
But first, to the part about me considering photography as solely a job, that is, I would say, 95% true right now because I do so much of it for work and I shoot for other people. And I have been trying to look for a way to still kind of approach it from my vision, from my tastes, from my personal aesthetic that I like, but while still making a product that my clients will like. But at the end of the day, I don't think that what I do, I do consider photography a job. And so when I have my camera around and I'm just traveling, and I have my 5D Mark III, or a DSLR in my hand, I can't not overthink it. And so by the time I'm done creating a picture that I'm happy enough with, I've wasted so much time looking behind the camera trying to compose a photo and take a good photo, that I've kind of forgotten that the place is there, that I'm there, that to like really try to appreciate that moment. So I've been trying to really focus, especially right now in the, the busiest part of the season. It does feel like a job for me a lot. And then the second point of that question, which is that photography as an art. I feel like a lot of people have different views, but I touched on this probably in a previous podcast, but I don't consider myself an artist. I feel like that's a little bit too pretentious. I create photos. I'm constantly creating, so I'm a creative person, but I'm not making art for myself, regardless of whether I make money or not. I want to make a living. I want to live comfortably, so I have to run a business, and in photography, I'm lucky because I do enjoy doing it, is my job, and I think that I have the necessary technical skills to create a product that a certain kind of client will like. But as far as considering myself to be an artist, I'm not doing any kind of work that is just for myself, any kind of body of work that I'm creating, regardless of whether or not I make money. So in that way, I don't consider myself an artist. Photography is art, and again, we could go back and forth talking about this, but that is my personal view and my personal beliefs about how I perceive myself and what I do. And going back to all of these pictures, I would say that I don't necessarily, just because it's a photo of a beautiful sunset, I wouldn't necessarily call that art. In the very literal sense, might be art, but is it really art?
In your definition? Yeah, well, different people can have different definitions of art. Right?
Just because
I don't think we should get that strict, because I think if it's something visual, gosh, well, art is music too, isn't it? Is art music?
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this discussion, if it's something visual that other people enjoy looking at, then it's art. We got kid art on the floor all around us, as my quasi-studio office has been.
But I do feel like, I don't know, when you think of art, you think of something that brings some sort of new idea or message or really impactful thing to our society. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's why you're kind of that idea of the Grand Canyon. You don't necessarily need to take a picture there, because you're not going to bring something new to it, so to speak.
Sort of, yeah. And when I hear it, it kind of sounds like
a little pretentious.
Pretentious, yeah. And I definitely don't want to, feel like I'm policing people's habits or whatever.
Right.
By all means.
Well, you also had the hypocrisy of saying, but when I go to Italy, I'm going to take a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out that there's probably been more pictures taken in Venice than of the Grand Canyon.
But we're not even going to Venice.
Well, okay, let's say that we were. Which we have booked our tickets, by the way.
Yeah, but I still don't consider that art. I feel like it would be a new, okay. So,
but you've never been to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I know, but I've seen so many pictures of it.
Okay. So you have a preconceived conception of what.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of comments.
What are your thoughts on
I
it?
know,
Because
it's
you're
good,
not
it's good.
adding too much. And
Well,
I feel like...
I feel like you made the controversial statement, and are now trying to kind of define it. And I don't think the comments were great. We've been really lucky, and again, still no trolls and things like that. And I think Torsol's comment was
Knock on wood.
not meant, to like put you down at all.
No, not at, and I don't take it like, and I appreciate the comment because it made me think about it,
Right.
and it made me kind of realize that, I think, those pictures have definitely certain worth to the person who took it, to their friends, to that small community.
Right.
But I do feel like I want to push people and myself to kind of see the world a little bit differently and to not go for the most obvious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about this in the last critique. Don't go for the most obvious thing. Go for something different.
Yep. Which
Yeah.
we've had some good critiques. This most recent one was good as well. But so my thoughts on it are, well, again, and somebody said, it sounds like the two of you were burned out. Now, careful, this was mostly her saying those things. I still pretty much take my camera with me everywhere and take quite a few pictures. For a lot of reasons. And I do take less than I did when I was working less professionally. And I don't necessarily call that burnout, but I think that is more of a recognition that it takes effort to make something really special. And sometimes luck, but that's probably why I still carry my camera with me in a lot of places. And if I was going to the Grand Canyon, I've been there once before, spent time, hiked down in it, I took some pictures. If I went again, I would certainly take some time to take pictures. And they may not be better than ones I've seen. I'm sure I've seen amazing pictures of the Grand Canyon, and my pictures would probably not be better, but they would be mine. And I made that picture, and I would have the memory of both making it and then the capture. And the other thing to remember is, for the normals, the people that aren't your everyday, photographing every day all the time, the picture that I make of the Grand Canyon may be amazing and they would love to see it. And so by sharing it with them, I see that from some of the stuff that I share on Instagram, which I'm working on a blog post about Instagram, because right now it is my favorite place to share and be. And I tell you what, when it first came out for a year or two, I was like, whatever, teenagers taking pictures of their tuna salad and their duck faces. Teenagers eat tuna salad. So, but I've completely changed my mind about that, and a blog post newsletter article is coming.
And
but yeah.
But would you say that you spend too much time, like the process of like getting the right picture, making sure that it's the right aspect ratio, getting it into Instagram, and then posting it on the internet? Would you say that you spend a lot of time doing that? I think he does. I mean, you do. Like, we don't ever go to an outing without you taking a photo with a DSLR, importing it into your phone, spending, like at least 15 minutes during dinner posting stuff.
I think there's some underlying issues here that aren't necessarily connected directly with photography.
Okay, fine. But it goes back to like the experience of, of like being a part of something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would rather create a picture that lots of people will like than like actually, be present in a given moment.
Well, that's not necessarily true. And this discussion's starting to get long, so that's how I'm going to weasel out of
Okay.
it. But again, I said the other morning when I took the 5D Mark III and the GH4 up to Indian Pond, Madame Cherie's location, I spent a lot of time just standing there enjoying, because it was just amazing. And then I'd take a few pictures and then I would enjoy. So I think I can find that balance, but it is hard, and I think that's something that photographers should be cautioned about, especially ones with significant others that may have different feelings. And that's one of the things that makes it tricky too. We talk about this, if you're traveling with normals, that's what I'm going to call folks that, when they want to go to the Grand Canyon, it's probably between, and we've talked about this before too, we talked about this with Adam last week a lot, because that's one of the really cool things about his trip. You go on this trip to make photos, so you go to these places at the right time. When you go with a bunch of normals to the Grand Canyon, you're going to probably show up after breakfast and stay maybe through the sunset. But that whole period of time, it's difficult to make those amazing pictures when the light is very harsh of the big grand view, the grand scape. There are certainly other things that you can do and focus on to get amazing pictures, but the one that most people want, that's going to be made early in the morning or late in the evening, and also people get hungry, and if you're traveling with younger kids, so it's really tricky. And I don't have an answer for that other than go on one of David's trips,
Right.
but keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay, well,
So-
let's move on because I hear footsteps out there. They're closing in on us.
That's good. All right, well, we also, hold on, we're going to do the quick stop. Okay, so we're going to wrap that up. And we also talked about, we had the 10 wedding do's. That was in response to that old article. And actually, when we read it out, we realized we only had 9.
Oh, that's right.
And so we had asked for a 10th. And there are 2 good ones I like. NYC 0053, I know it's you this time. Acknowledge the children, treat them as they matter, not the opposite. What you said, you think at weddings, many photographers often will really focus in on the children, maybe too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Where's your microphone going? Let's see how that sounds.
Whoopsies.
But I think there are some wedding photographers that I think that's good to note, and also maybe get a little more print sales from kids as well. So again, it sounds like I'm a money greedy guy, but
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I do feel really greedy when I try to like really focus on taking really good pictures of the kids because it's like, oh, the parents will want to buy this, but you know, it's not really the kids' day or the parents' day. It's the couple's day. So just be careful not to focus too much on the children,
Yep.
which is really easy to do.
Yep. Another great comment, I lost it now, was, from William. A point to tell the couple how long it's going to take for each group picture. He says 5 minutes. We usually say 3. That is a great point. Let them know. So when they have these big, long lists, they can see how much it is.
Yeah, I've gotten like a list of like 20, 25, and then when you
Groups.
add up all that time, it takes a really
when
long
you
time.
got this person
and
come
really-
in, that person, and that's where an assistant is super helpful. And if you don't work with an assistant, one of the bridesmaids or assign somebody at the group who knows a lot of the names to help you wrangle.
Yeah, and just be really communicative before the wedding to tell the couple, to tell their families where to meet after the ceremony, to listen for their name, to pay attention, to stay with the group. And then the couple also, I always tell them unless they're specifically planning to have a receiving line, to just kind of run and duck out of sight so that the guests don't come greet them, which kind of sounds like a kind of a selfish thing. But I also want this to go as quickly as possible. I want them to go to their cocktail hour or to not spend so much time taking pictures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And Mark had a couple good comments, but the one I'll focus in on is we talked about staying healthy, and we talked a little bit about chiropractors. And he said he thinks chiropractors are great, and he sees massage therapists and chiropractors as very nicely complementary. The chiropractor's working on your spine, your skeletal structure, keeping that in alignment, and your massage therapist is keeping your muscles happy.
yeah, I guess
It still sounds a little scary.
I only feel like it's scary because of one of his former coworkers had a really bad experience.
This is
But
great
I
because we tell people online, like when you see one bad review, everybody's worried about their nifty 50 getting stuck on the camera because a couple people have talked about the plastic mount.
Yeah, well, I just mostly would want.
But we heard that one chiropractor, one place.
Yeah, we don't want to. No, I think I just mostly would like to know from other chiropractors that have done a good job with other people. So.
Yep, that's good. All right, now back in episode 23, we talked a little bit about, 2 things. One, I said, are there any real hardcore videographers that follow this? And heard from quite a few of you that you do. That's awesome. You've now heard my GH4 review. I hope to have more coming about that camera. I want to buy it, but budget-wise, it's just not quite there. And then I think about having to carry, but if we get an adapter for Canon lenses. Anyway, it's really nice. So thank you, videographers, and ask those questions. I'm learning some of this stuff as we go as well. I'm going to be sitting down with a serious editor and a videographer in the next couple of months. Going to bring you some content from them as well. So that's exciting to do that. And then a lot of questions about Magic Lantern on a couple different, we've touched on it. And a lot of people are like, it's kind of confusing. I want to know a little bit more about it. That's the issue. It is confusing. The user interface is rough. I'd say for still photos, it doesn't offer anything groundbreaking.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
for
so.
videographers with your T3i, T4i, 650 and 600, 60D, it's good. But 70D, no Magic Lantern yet that's stable. 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III, yes. A lot of people they hear about raw video. It sounds great. It is amazing, but we're talking super fast card, super short clips, and a lot of serious post-processing editing. I mean, like, I don't want to touch it right now. For what we do, it doesn't make sense. I think for most people right now, the work pre and post that you need to do, it doesn't quite make sense, but it is neat that that development is there. So, all right. We also asked about where people want to go, where they travel. Sam, she's got a places to see board on Pinterest, and Italy, China, Route 66 for this English gal. That's cool. Were we just on? Oh no, we were on Route 6 on Cape Cod. Route 6 goes all the way out to California too. And we had a question, we're doing a single camera for this, but we also did 3 cameras, and I talked about syncing them in pluralize, and somebody said, why don't you just use Final Cut's synchronization program, or synchronization feature, thank you. And I said, the couple of times I've tried, it hasn't really worked very well for me. Then Final Cut had a nice update this week, 10.1.2 now, and I was like, oh, I'll try it again. No. It just slightly out of sync, enough that it's clearly just doesn't work so good. Are we in the same? New Zealand, Iceland. David they're going to Iceland in a couple weeks, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, going to Iceland in a couple weeks, talking about sunset and sunrise pictures. They can be taken a couple hours apart because the sun's setting at like 11 and coming up at 2 a.m. Pretty amazing, pretty awesome. New Zealand, China. Somebody mentioned that really cool show that you've seen on Netflix.
Yeah, Wild China. It's really cool.
Great.
It's amazing.
All right.
Awesome show.
Very good. And we are wrapping this. Oh, we had questions about keeping boxes a few weeks ago now.
Right.
And you kind of poo-pooed that too. Yeah, see, we play bad cop, good cop. Because you're like, don't take pictures, don't keep your boxes. And I'm like, keep your boxes, take all your pictures.
Well, you just like to play the easy role.
But that's how I feel. I'm easy. Well, I'm not.
Okay, so
Most people said
that they want to keep their boxes.
They want to keep their boxes. And if they had a choice when they're buying used, if something had the whole box and everything versus not, they'd go for the one with a box. Although we didn't talk a lot about whether or not they'd be the same. You could disassemble the boxes. We could disassemble the boxes, couldn't we?
Yeah, that's a good
But
idea.
a lot of the Canon lens boxes
they
have
come
the
with that foam stuff.
squares, that foam stuff.
How do you take that apart, huh?
Yeah, well, you could put it all in a bag, and then when you have to reassemble them and figure out, you could label. See, there are people out there that are like this. And we heard from a woman who was using the IKEA to keep her lenses. That's slightly different.
Anyway.
You could, people label. You could break down all the boxes, then throw all the styrofoam into a bag and label it Canon 50L.
Yeah, you have to be so
bottom,
organized,
top.
though. We're not like that.
Are you going to buy the Sigma 50 1.4?
Yes, I am. So if anybody wants to buy my 51.2 from Canon,
it is still a good lens.
It's a great lens. It's amazing.
But you would have to ask them to buy it for it. Yeah. Now, interestingly enough,
it's what, like just about a year old. It's pretty new. Yeah.
Yeah, you're selling it really well. You're going to be able to sell it well.
Oh, I think so too.
There are people out there that have a stigma against third-party lens makers.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways that's justified because in the past, the quality control has really not been great with some of these Sigma, Tamron. But these most recent series, the art lenses, fantastic.
Yep.
We heard from somebody who works at a camera and lens rental place that the Sigma 50 was not renting nearly as well as they thought it should. But it's not because it's not a fantastic lens. I think it's because of that stigma that people feel like they want the Canon and they want the 1.2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well.
Do we have a question this week?
No.
No question. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up there. It is shorter. We'll be back again next week. Probably a shorter one again.
Yes.
Because family will still be here. That's right. We might be look a little more harried next week. I was going to make my hair stick up. Just because you know how it is with family. They're family. And the house is full of them.
Yep. Which is great. We love it.
Never mind. So, leave your questions, your comments down below. I'm going to think about 5 different things that I wanted to share with you all right after we hit the stop button. But as we said, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye. Episode 26. Do we switch sides?
Yeah.
So should the title be Christina's Bad Side?
It's not my bad side. It's just not my good side.
Now you're so little. You're so little down there. Welcome to another Photo Mishmash, episode 26. I'm Toby.
And I'm Christina.
And this is... I don't got a title. Do it. I got a title.
Don't make it something so silly that I have to look at you and be like, really? Again?